This is D-Day. And what I'm about to show you is the most intense historical experience of my life. Subscribe and drop a comment right now and tell me where you are watching from. And if you are from Michigan, hit that thumbs up. Let's see how many of us are here. June 6, 1944. Over 150,000 Allied soldiers stormed the beaches of Normandy in the largest amphibious invasion in history. Most of them were just kids, farm boys, factory workers, regular guys who had never seen combat. They climbed into Higgins boats, packed shoulder to shoulder, knowing that when that ramp dropped, many of them wouldn't make it off the beach. Today, I'm at D-Day, Michigan, one of the largest World War II reenactments in the country. And I'm not just watching, I'm living it. I'm in full uniform, loaded into an authentic Higgins boat, about to hit the beach just like they did 80 years ago. This is their story. And for the next few minutes, it's mine too. My name is Private First Class Murphy York. At least, that's who I am today. 22 years old, from a small farming town just outside Detroit. I enlisted 3 days after Pearl Harbor, December 10th, 1941. My dad tried to talk me out of it. Said the farm needed me. Said my mom would never forgive him if he let me go. But I went anyway. Because when you're 20 and your country gets attacked, you don't think about what could happen. You just know you have to do something. 2.5 years of training brought me here. 2.5 years of wondering if I'd measure up when it counted. 2.5 years of asking myself if I'd be brave enough when the moment came. Now I'm about to find out. The staging area is chaos. Hundreds of reenactors moving in organized disorder, checking equipment, loading magazines, adjusting helmets. The authenticity is staggering. Every piece of gear is period correct. The wool uniforms, scratchy and heavy. The M1 Garand rifle in my hands, 9.5 pounds of wood and steel. The canvas pack on my back, loaded with everything a soldier would carry. Entrenching tool, canteen, rations, first aid kit, extra ammunition. It's got to be 60 pounds of gear, and it's already weighing me down before I even hit the water. Our commanding officer is Sergeant Bill Kowalski. He's a veteran reenactor, been doing this for 20 years. But right now, standing in front of our assembled unit, he's not playing a role. He's channeling something real, something raw. Listen up, he barks. You're assigned to the 116th Infantry Regiment, 29th Division. You're hitting Omaha Beach, Dog Green Sector. That's the westernmost section of Omaha. That's where Company A took the heaviest casualties. 96% casualties in the first 30 minutes. Let that sink in. 96%. He pauses, lets us feel the weight of that number. The Germans have fortified positions on the bluffs. High ground advantage, interlocking fields of fire. They've had for years to prepare these defenses. They know exactly where you're landing. They've ranged every inch of that beach. You hit the ramp, you're in the kill zone immediately. Around me, guys are going quiet. A young reenactor to my left can't be more than 19, playing a soldier named Tommy Russo from Grand Rapids. His face has gone pale. He keeps adjusting his helmet strap, checking his rifle, hands trembling slightly. To my right is Eddie Freeman, older guy, maybe 40, portraying a soldier from Flint. He's writing something in a small notebook. Later, I'll learn it's a letter to his actual daughter, telling her why events like this matter, why we can't forget. Another soldier, Jack Patterson, is chain-smoking. We all cope differently. We all prepare differently. Some pray, some joke, some go silent. But we all feel it. That creeping knowledge that we're about to step into history, even if it's just a recreation. Sergeant Kowalski continues. Your objective is simple. Get off the beach. Reach the seawall. Breach the bluffs. Take the high ground. But here's the reality. Some of you won't make it past the waterline. In the real invasion, men drowned under the weight of their equipment. Some were hit before they even left the boat. Others made it 10 feet, 20 feet, and went down. The ones who survived, who made it across that beach, they did it by moving. You freeze, you die. You hesitate, you die. You bunch up, you die. So you move. You zigzag. You find cover. You help your buddy. And you fight like hell to get off that beach. Because if we don't take Normandy, we don't liberate Europe. It's that simple. The briefing ends. We have 20 minutes until we load onto the Higgins boats. I need air. I need to think. I walk away from the group, find a quiet spot overlooking the lake that's standing in for the English Channel. It's calm today. Small waves lapping at the shore. Nothing like the rough seas the real soldiers faced. But it doesn't matter. My heart is already racing. I think about the real Murphy York. I made that name up, but somewhere there was probably a real soldier with a name just like that. Maybe he was from Michigan too. Maybe he had a girl back home. Maybe he wrote letters promising he'd come back. Maybe he kept that promise. Maybe he didn't. I think about my own grandfather. He was at Normandy. Different beach, Utah, but he was there. He never talked about it much. Just small things. The sound of the boat engines, the smell of diesel and vomit, the cold water, the weight of his gear. He told me once, just once, what it felt like when the ramp dropped. He said it was like all the air got sucked out of the world. Like time slowed down and sped up at the same time. Like every sense was amplified but also numb. He said he didn't remember being scared in the moment. That came later. In the moment, he just moved. Training took over. Instinct took over. You just did what you had to do. He died 3 years ago. I'm doing this for him as much as anyone. A whistle blows. Time to load up. We form into groups of 30, the capacity of a Higgins boat. I'm with Tommy, Eddie, Jack, and 26 others. We march down to the water's edge where the boats are waiting. These aren't replicas. These are real LCVP landing craft, restored and maintained by the reenactment community. 36 feet long, steel hull, wooden ramp at the front. The same design that carried soldiers across the channel. The same design that became a coffin for so many. We climb in awkward and clumsy under our gear. The boat rocks with each person's weight. We pack in tight, shoulder to shoulder, standing room only. The crew chief, playing a Navy coxswain, starts the engine. It roars to life, loud and throaty. Black smoke pours from the exhaust. We pull away from shore. The beach disappears behind us. We're heading out into the lake, circling around to approach from the proper angle. It'll be a 10-minute ride. 10 minutes to think, to feel, to understand, even just a fraction, what those men experienced. The boat bounces over the waves. Cold water splashes over the sides, soaking us. The spray hits my face, and I taste salt, even though this is a freshwater lake. People care about getting this right, about honoring the truth of what happened. You doing okay? He looks at me, tries to smile, fails. I keep thinking about the real guys, he says, the ones who actually did this. My great-uncle was at Omaha. He was 20 years old. Didn't make it off the beach. I'm 20 now. Same age he was. Makes you think, you know. Yeah, I say, it does. Eddie leans over. My grandfather was here too, he says. Survived the landing, but caught shrapnel 2 days later clearing bunkers. Lived, but carried that metal in his leg for 60 years. Used to set off metal detectors at airports. He'd laugh about it, but you could see in his eyes it wasn't funny. Every time he limped, he was back there. The stories pour out. Jack's uncle was a medic, spent the whole day running back and forth across the beach pulling wounded men to safety. Another guy's grandfather was a combat engineer, tasked with blowing beach obstacles under fire. Someone else had family in the 82nd Airborne, dropped behind the beaches hours before the landing. Every single person in this boat has a connection to D-Day. That's why we're here. That's why this matters. This isn't playing soldier. This is remembering. This is carrying forward the memories of men who can't tell their stories anymore. Sergeant Kowalski's voice cuts through. Listen up. 2 minutes out. When that ramp drops, you exit fast. Keep moving forward. Find cover. Stay with your unit. Remember why we're doing this. Remember who we're honoring. The noise level rises. The sound of the shore. Artillery simulators going off. Smoke generators creating thick clouds. Machine gun blanks firing in rhythmic bursts. The smell hits us next. Sulfur from the pyrotechnics. Smoke. Diesel. It's overwhelming. My senses are overloading. 1 minute. Kowalski shouts. I can see the beach now through the cracks in the ramp. Dark sand churned up by previous waves of boats. Obstacles sticking out of the water. Barbed wire. Dragon's teeth. Beyond that, the bluffs rising up, positions marked by muzzle flashes and smoke. This is it. This is the moment. My breathing is rapid, shallow. My hands are shaking, not from fear exactly, but from adrenaline. From anticipation, from the sheer weight of what I'm about to do. Tommy is muttering a prayer. Eddie has his eyes closed, breathing deep. Jack is staring straight ahead, jaw clenched. 30 seconds. The engine cuts back. We're drifting in now, momentum carrying us. I can hear the scrape of the hull on sand. We've grounded. This is it. 15 seconds. I grip my rifle. Check my gear one last time. Look at the guys around me. We nod to each other. No words, just understanding. 10 seconds. The coxswain moves to the ramp release. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The ramp drops with a metallic clang that echoes like a gunshot, and the world explodes into chaos. Go, go, go. Kowalski is screaming, but I can barely hear him over the noise. I push forward, carried by the press of bodies behind me. My boots hit the ramp, and then I'm in the water. It's cold, shockingly cold, deeper than I expected. The ramp dropped into a depression, and suddenly I'm chest deep, the water soaking through my wool uniform instantly. The weight of my gear pulls me down. I'm sinking. Panic flares for a second before training kicks in. I push up, get my head above water, start moving forward. The bottom is uneven, soft sand and rocks. I stumble, catch myself. Around me guys are yelling, moving, some falling. Tommy goes down next to me, disappears under the water. Eddie grabs him, hauls him up. We keep moving. The beach is hell. That's the only word for it. Even though these are blanks, even though the explosions are controlled, the sensory overload is complete. Smoke everywhere, thick and choking. The crack of rifle fire. The deeper thump of artillery. Geysers of sand and water kicked up by pyrotechnics. The air is filled with the smell of cordite and burning powder. My ears are ringing. I can't think. Can't process. I just move. Get to cover. Get to cover. Someone is screaming it over and over. Maybe it's me. There's a line of wooden obstacles ahead. Czech hedgehogs and Belgian gates. I run toward them. My legs are burning. The wet wool uniform weighs a ton. My pack is trying to drag me backward. 50 feet feels like a mile. An explosion goes off to my left, close enough that I feel the concussion. I dive, hit the sand hard, roll behind a hedgehog. Tommy and Eddie crash down beside me a second later. You good? Eddie gasps. Yeah. I shout back, you! He nods. Can't speak, just trying to breathe. Tommy's eyes are wide. He's in shock. We all are. This is what they felt. This chaos, this terror, this complete sensory overload where your brain can't process everything happening at once, so it just narrows down to the most basic level. Move, breathe, survive. Sergeant Kowalski materializes out of the smoke. We gotta move. Up the beach. That seawall is 200 yards. We go on my mark. He doesn't wait for a response. 3, 2, 1. Move. We're up and running again. This time, I'm more aware. I can see other soldiers advancing in Russia's 5 or 10 seconds of sprint before diving behind cover. I can see reenactors playing casualties, lying still or calling for medics. The medics are running back and forth, brave beyond belief. Marked with red crosses that wouldn't have protected them at all in the real battle. Snipers don't respect red crosses. We cover another 50 yards before the next stop. This time it's a crater, probably 3 feet deep, blown out by engineers earlier to simulate artillery impacts. 4 of us pile in. There's already 2 guys here. One is playing wounded red dye pack on his leg, realistic and disturbing. A medic is with him, working frantically, wrapping the leg with gauze, shooting morphine from a period-accurate syringe. I watch for a second too long. The medic looks up at me, and for a moment we lock eyes. He's not acting. The intensity in his face is real. He's imagining this is real. He's putting himself in the shoes of those men who had to perform life-saving medicine under fire with inadequate supplies and no hope of evacuation for hours. The respect I feel in that moment is overwhelming. Next push. Kowalski again. He's everywhere, keeping us moving, keeping us together. Up, now. We go again. Another 100 yards. I've lost track of how many times we've stopped and started. My lungs are on fire. My legs are rubber. The gear is crushing me. But I keep going because that's what they did. They kept going when every instinct screamed to stay down, to hide, to give up. They kept going because their buddies were counting on them, because the mission mattered, because failure meant everyone who died on this beach died for nothing. Finally, we reach the seawall. It's a concrete barrier, maybe 4 feet high, running parallel to the beach. We collapse against it, gasping, shaking, soaked with water and sweat. I look back the way we came. The beach is covered with soldiers, some advancing, some behind cover, some lying still. Smoke obscures everything. drifting in thick clouds. Boats are still landing. More waves coming in. The noise hasn't let up. If anything, it's worse, more concentrated as more units pile onto the beach. How long did that take? I gasp. Eddie checks his watch. 12 minutes, he says. 12 minutes. In the real invasion, men spent hours pinned down on that beach. Hours under fire. Hours watching their friends die. Hours of sustained terror that we just experienced. A tiny fraction of for 12 minutes. And I'm exhausted, physically and emotionally drained. How did they do it? How did they keep going for hours? Sergeant Kowalski gathers us. Good work. Now comes the hard part. We gotta get up those bluffs. There's paths, but they're covered by machine gun nests. We gotta suppress those positions, get engineers up to blow the wire, and push through. Stay together. Watch your spacing. And remember, every man who made it this far in the real battle earned it with blood. We owe it to them to finish this right. He points to a gap in the wire about 50 yards to our right. That's our route. We move in 2 minutes. Check your ammo. Hydrate. And get your head right, because this next part is where a lot of men fell. I take a drink from my canteen. The water is warm and tastes like canvas, but it's the best thing I've ever had. I look at the guys around me. We're all changed. The joking from earlier is gone. The nervous energy has crystallized into something else. Focus, determination, and a bone-deep respect for what the real soldiers endured. Tommy catches my eye. Thanks for pulling me up back there, he says. I didn't even realize I had. You'd have done the same, I tell him. He nods. Yeah, I would have. And that's the truth. That's what happened on that beach. Men who'd known each other for weeks or months or just hours looked out for each other, saved each other, died for each other. Kowalski stands. Time to move. Stay low. Follow me. We climb over the seawall and start up the slope. The terrain is rougher here, longer grass, uneven ground. The incline is steeper than it looked. Every step is a struggle. The machine gun fire intensifies, blanks, but loud and terrifying. Smoke grenades go off, creating cover and confusion in equal measure. We zigzag, using every bit of terrain for concealment. A pile of rocks, a shell crater, a burned-out pillbox. Each covered position gives us a chance to breathe before the next push. The Germans, played by reenactors in period uniforms, are dug in and defending hard. They're not making this easy. They're not supposed to. The real defenders fought with desperate ferocity. They knew if they lost this beach, they lost the war. We're halfway up the bluff when everything intensifies. More pyrotechnics, more blank fire. The scenario calls for a breakthrough, and they're simulating the climax of the battle. Grenades, played by smoke pots, go off in sequence. Bangalore torpedoes, simulated by larger charges, blow gaps in the wire. Engineers rush forward. Infantry follows. We're all moving now. No more cautious advances, just a sustained push up the hill. The adrenaline is back, wiping away the fatigue. I'm running, yelling, everyone is yelling, and then suddenly, we're through. We're at the top. The objective is taken. I collapse on the grass, chest heaving, and for a moment, I just lie there staring at the sky. It's over. We did it. I roll over and look back down at the beach. From up here, I can see the whole thing. The water churned by landing craft. The beach scarred with craters and obstacles. The seawall lined with soldiers. And beyond that, more boats coming in, more men landing, the invasion continuing. In the real battle, this was just the beginning. After taking the beach came the hedgerows, the towns, the long, brutal push across France. But the beach was where it started. The beach was where boys became men and men became heroes or ghosts. Tommy sits down next to me, breathing hard. That was intense, he says. Yeah, I reply. Eddie joins us, then Jack, then the others. We sit in silence for a while, just processing. Finally, Sergeant Kowalski addresses us. You just experienced a fraction of D-Day, a tiny sliver. And I'm willing to bet you're exhausted, scared, maybe questioning things. That's good. That's real. Because the men who did this for real, they felt all of that and more. They felt it for hours, days, months, years. Some of them never stopped feeling it. So when you leave here today, remember that. Remember what it felt like. Remember the chaos and the fear and the brotherhood, and honor them. Honor them by never forgetting. The battle scenario ends. The firing stops. The smoke begins to clear. Reenactors stand, brush themselves off, start heading back to the staging areas. The spell is broken, but the impact remains. I stand slowly, every muscle protesting. I look at my uniform, soaked and covered in sand. I look at my rifle, grip worn smooth by countless hands before mine. I look at the beach one more time, and I understand now, in a way I never could have before, what they gave us. What they sacrificed. The real Murphy York, whoever he was. The real Tommy Russo. The real Eddie Freeman. The real Sergeant Kowalski. The thousands of names carved in stone at cemeteries in France. They were here. They did this. And they didn't get to walk away at the end. But I do. I get to take off this uniform, turn in this rifle, and go home. I get to hug my family, sleep in my bed, live my life. And every bit of that freedom I owe to them. We all do. D-Day Michigan isn't just a reenactment. It's not playing soldier or indulging in military fantasy. It's a sacred act of remembrance. It's keeping alive the memory of men who can no longer speak for themselves. It's teaching new generations what was paid for the world we live in. And it's a reminder that freedom isn't free. It never was. It cost blood. It cost lives. It cost everything those men had to give. So, to everyone watching this, I want to say something. If you ever get the chance to attend one of these events, do it. Not as a spectator, but as a participant. Put on the uniform. Carry the rifle. Feel the weight. Experience the chaos. Because reading about history in a book is one thing. Living it, even for a few minutes, is something else entirely. And if you can't attend in person, then at least take a moment right now to remember. Think about what those men did. Think about what they sacrificed. Think about the world they saved. And say thank you. To them. To their families. To the generation that gave everything so we could have this life. If this video moved you, if it made you think, if it made you feel even a fraction of what I felt out there on that beach, then hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel for more immersive historical content. And most importantly, drop a comment. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your family's stories. Tell me about your grandfather, your great-uncle, the veterans in your life who served. Let's keep their memories alive. Let's make sure their sacrifices are never forgotten. And to all my Michigan viewers out there, thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. This is our history. These are our heroes, and we owe them everything. Never forget D-Day. Never forget what they did. Never forget why it mattered. Because the moment we forget, we dishonor their sacrifice. And that's something we can never allow to happen. Thank you for watching. And remember, freedom isn't free.